orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so
Okay,
I can
okay,
over.
come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa. The morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports radio station, KCAA, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Spreaker, Streaker, and you name it, I am there because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. Therefore, on this show, there is no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kanye talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests to that end. And it is actually consecutive week number 598 starting this Monday. And I am so glad that anyone and everyone who said that I could not carry on a show that did not, if it bleeds, it leads, scandal, political rhetoric, ranting, gossip. I'm so glad you were wrong. And I have 1,041 shows to prove it. If you missed my fabulous interview with the inventor of the credit card, the black strip on the back, he's an amazing, he's called the grandfather of possibilities, Ron Klein. His beautiful wife, Arlene, is also a guest on my show. I've had, you saw in the promo, Corey Feldman, Don Wells. Whenever I see that part of my promo, I love how some of my guests become friends. Actually, many of my guests become friends, and they end up, I went to her place for Thanksgiving, and she's in heaven now. She went the first bout of COVID back in December 2019, I believe it was. So, but I know she's still loving us from there. And I'm so glad that those classic TV shows, I'm a great announcement to tell you right now. Tomorrow, I have a repeat guest. It will be his third time, I believe, on the show. That's how much I love my guests, and they loved me back. Don Most, who was Ralph Malph on Happy Days, will be coming back tomorrow live in studio. I'm so proud of him. He just got a Grammy nomination for his music, which was his first love, and a lot of people don't know that. Acting was not his first love, so he'll be back tomorrow. And he'll be telling us about all of that. We'll be playing some of his music too. And I'm reminded of another milestone. Thank you, Troy Pacelli, Italiano amigo, that I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers. I have my subscriber count is not high in terms of what people expect, but I'm grateful that I've had, I believe, 300,000 views. Same thing with TikTok. I may not have a lot of followers, but I've had over, I think, 10,000 likes. So not that I'm looking for likes, because that's not how we measure. And we're going to jump into Breakfast with Dr. Marissa to illustrate that. But I am grateful for all those who, I still subscribe to Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams. If you build it, they would come. And I'm so grateful for my cashew gallery, Orville Nation, out of Spain and New York, and my new cashew gallery supporter, Last Call with Troy Pacelli. He has a show also on YouTube. You'll have to check that out. Now, we're going to have breakfast, which means we start at the top of the bun, which is 8 specific things that we are grateful for. And then the bottom of the bun is things inside yourself that you're grateful for. I call them appreciations, so that we're not looking for likes in all the wrong places. All right, you ready to go? Troy, you ready to play along? Orville Nation. Frank, thank you so much. He's my sound engineer, who also is my co-host on Thursdays on Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and Frank Borelli. And he is going to give my first gratitude, that I think is I don't have to wear earbuds this morning when I'm by myself. Because there's no echo. And I'm hoping that's true. I'm grateful that I got to jump in the pool this morning and do the bike to get some my cells in my body running and clearing out my system of the fluids, which you'll see me dabbing as I glisten. I'm grateful that I do have wonderful supporters like Orville Nation and Troy Pacelli. That's another 2, and you're welcome to put your gratitudes in the chat. I am grateful for continuous growing and expanding as we as humans, remember that we're humankind and all the things that are going on in the world that are good. And that's the top of the button, my gratitude. I'm going to go to the bottom of the button. What do I like about myself? And the reason why we do this, it is Mental Health Monday, is because a lot of us look to other people to tell us if we are good or not. The problem with that, as Esther Hicks will say, is people are fickle. One minute they like you, the next minute they don't. So it's, I believe, my BS, my belief system is that good mental health is founded or anchored in self-care, self-love, self-approval. So that's why we do this exercise, which is the bottom of the bun, saying, what do we like about ourselves? And even if you can't do that, if you can't list 8 things, that's okay. It's a process. It's not a light switch. So every single day, think of something people have complimented you on that maybe you don't know or don't believe it yet. You will, but we have to stop allowing the critic, which points out all the things that are wrong about us constantly, to drive our life car, because it will go over a cliff. So what I like about myself is my ability to get back up when I do stumble. I appreciate my ability to not beat myself up too much. 88% of the time I don't. That's my second appreciation. And I have a gratitude here that I'm going to stick in. Aw, I'm grateful for Dr. Marissa Pei for being so kind and encouraging to me personally this morning. Shit. That's actually Chinese Mandarin for thank you. My Chinese namaste is the peace and love in me sees the peace and love in you. I adopted that, and I appreciate that. I love the red carpet because I'm so shy. Sarcasm is another service I offer, and I'll do a quick plug tonight. If you are anywhere in the Orange County or LA area, please join me tonight on the red carpet. I get to introduce the Chinese Spotlight film at the fabulous Newport Beach Film Festival. This is my, I believe, 7th year sponsoring the film. And then afterwards we party like there's no tomorrow at the Pacific Rim Showcase. And I need a date. So if you are anywhere near and reach out and message me, you will get my date pass to go with me. The only caveat is you get to be my camera man and help me out with some of the interviews. I do a lot of my interviews myself because I'm a recovering control freak, and now thanks to technology, I can actually do selfie interviews, which are a common thing with my guests. I got Tony Hawk last year, and if you are on my Instagram, Doc Balance, you'll see that Pierce Brosnan was there a few years back with his very talented wife, Kaylee Kaylee. Someone just told me they went to high school with them. Who is that? I just met someone who went to high school with it. Anyways, she was there with her film, Poisoning Paradise. You never knows who you're going to see on the red carpet. So if you would like to go and be my date tonight, just message me and I'll let you know how to get that press pass with me. And I am good. The film is called When the River Flows. And I want to see if I can pull that up. I'm going to pull that up in a minute. Let's finish breakfast, which is the appreciation of what you like about yourself. Let's see. Try is being funny. You are shy and introverted, just like you. Yes. Yeah. we see each other. And then my final appreciation, and all of these I hope you do before you go to bed, instead of thinking about what you don't like about yourself or who done you wrong, then you are thinking about who you do right, which is you. And my final appreciation is that I have a great sense of humor. I love joking around, not necessarily making fun of people, but I do enjoy laughing because laughter is my favorite sound in the world. So that is it for having breakfast with Dr. Marissa. Thank you, Troy, for playing along with me at breakfast. I hope that you will continue this discipline for the next 28 days. If you start your day with gratitude and you end your day with appreciation, you will sandwich your day in the most possible, best possible way. So that is it for breakfast. And now we're going to go into the topic for today. It is Mental Health Mondays Matter. Mental Health Matters Monday, whichever way you want to look at it. I wanted to begin doing this because there's a lot of people who are, the good news, recognizing that they're not where they want to be, that they're having some struggles. But the bad news is, the good news is you're recognizing it. The bad news is they're reaching for quick fixes, things to mask it or delay it or numb you out, whether it's eating or drinking or drugs or prescription drugs, you name it. If you're trying to not feel bad using something external of you, the good news is it will sort of numb you out. The bad news out is just temporary, and there are side effects and there are consequences. So I thought on Mondays I would give you, take my advice, I'm not using it, my opinion. This is not medical advice at all. I am a doctor, but of the PhD kind. So I am using things from my practice of happiness coaching or law of attraction coaching. This is a #1 best-selling book called 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. There are exercises in this book, and every Monday I give a free audiobook copy of that book. So if you would like that, drmarissa.life, subscribe there, and I will send you a link for the audiobook copy. So that is what we're doing today. And I thought the topic that would be perfect for today, because of some experiences I've had, as well as a person who reached out to me who's had some trauma. Trauma is one of those, I don't know many people who have escaped trauma of some kind. My constant platform, or I know I'm here on the planet to help the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma. And I that is one of the reasons why I had childhood trauma, is so that I could work my way through it and then have a practice that helps people who've had similar things work through their trauma. And I'm here to tell you, you do not have to live in childhood trauma for the rest of your life because you were told that there's something wrong with you, you're not good enough, there's something wrong with you, you're not all that. All those messages, which is what I deal with in the book, are just fertilizer for you to grow with. But one of the things that I haven't talked a lot about on Mental Health Mondays is adult trauma. And adult trauma, some of it is new, as in trauma that is something bad that happens to you as an adult that is not related to if you had trauma in your childhood. So I'll give you an example of the difference in this. So I had childhood trauma and told I was fat, ugly, and clumsy growing up, physically abused, and to the point of being in the hospital. So that sort of qualifies me. Now, as a result of that childhood trauma, which I did not process through and develop coping devices, I wasn't a very good listener, because if I really listened to the message as a child, I would have been dead, because it was so painful to hear. I also developed a coping device of looking for love in all the wrong places, trying to find love from people who weren't capable of giving me love, because that's what I was familiar with. And so many of us kids who've had that kind of trauma choose mates or significant or insignificant others in our adulthood to reflect, we want to fix what happened in the past. We want to prove that we're lovable, but we're drawn to a situation kind of like what we grew up with. So that is childhood trauma that plays out as a habit in adulthood. That is not adult trauma, right? But often we don't see the link. So there's a lot of studies, people who are in abusive relationships in their adulthood were very high percentage were abused when they were kids, either being as the abuser or the abused. It's a pattern that continues because we don't do what we need to do to heal that part of us so it's not so automatic. And that's the work that I ask you to do. This is not a book that tells you as a psychologist how to be happy. It's a book that I have used these processes to work through my own trauma. Okay. So, and it's an eclectic, it's not one kind of therapy. It's not therapy per se, it's coaching, and there's exercises in there. But it is my BS, my belief system that is, if you do not, what you do not deal with will come back and deal with you. And that is why I wrote that book, and know that it has a lot of healing power, because the feedback one, and I know it worked on me. And let me tell you, it was many years of suffering before I could figure out a way out of it. So if you're suffering from childhood trauma, then get the book. And I'm offering you a free audiobook today. This is not for the first person that goes to drmarissa.life. It is my audiobook that I'm talking to you. It is my mission to help those of us who've had childhood trauma, because that's one of the reasons why it happened to me. Now, today I want to focus on adult trauma, because that's another category of trauma. And again, why do I talk about this? Because it happens, and because it happened to me, and it happens to you, and it happens to people you know, and whether you want to admit it or not, it will affect your happiness. My mission with this show, with my life, I'm on a happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. And that's why we talk about it. And that's why I am so grateful that I have this platform. And a lot of people watch this later because they're at work. And if you've just tuned in here wondering what's going on today in studio, this is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and my YouTube channel, where you free subscribe. You'll get an alert every weekday morning that we are on live, and you can participate like Troy Pacelli, who is here in studio. I don't know if Orville Nation still is, but you are welcome to ask questions and participate as Troy is doing. And we are talking about adult trauma today on Mental Health Matters Mondays. So what kinds of trauma do people go through as adults? Well, I'm going to go back to 2011. Someone talked about that yesterday with me about Seal Beach. And those of you who know, I raised two beautiful daughters in Seal Beach, which is in California. It's right at the border of LA County and behind the orange curtain of Orange County. And in 2011, there was a horrific shooting at the Seal Beach Salon, Meritage, and it was the worst massacre in Orange County history. And I was there, not just there, but I tried not to be in the library where all of the people were whose loved ones they didn't know were dead or alive, who they knew had been shot or affected by the who was an angry, had legal firearms, but in the middle of a very bitter custody battle. And if you want to hear exactly what happened, I have several people who I've interviewed on my playlist. If you look up Dr. Marissa and Seal Beach Salon tragedy, one of the people who suffered adult tragedy was Paul, the wife of one of the victims. And he, suffered something that not everybody suffers, which is the untimely death, unexpected death of a loved one, his wife, that day. The angry shooter went in and shot both his ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife and my memory is just not what it is, but I believe it's 8 people. And I'm not here to recount the details of that tragedy. The point of the show today is to give you some tools if you have been involved in adult tragedy. So I know that those people who went through that was a tragedy. So unexpected death of a loved one, that is definitely a trauma. Some people as adults, they're robbed or they're raped. I actually just was in an elevator with someone. I had no clue, and I, it was just me, and said something. I don't even remember what I said, but I'm kind of nice. I like to be nice when you first meet me. Just that's who I am, and she looked me up and contacted me and said thank you. And she was on her way to the police station because she had been drugged and raped a few weeks earlier. And I was like, OMG, that is adult trauma. So it happens. It's happening out there. Losing your home to a fire, that's adult trauma. Being, with the internet these days, being cyber bullied is a trauma. Having your money stolen is a trauma. Losing your money in COVID is a trauma. That not so much. I mean, that's not even close to the things that I just said prior. So I'm not here to, put trauma on a scale, or you had worse trauma than I do. All I'm saying is that adult trauma is in a little bit of a separate category than being triggered by trauma that you've had in the past. So what do we do with adult trauma? What do we do? What can you do when something bad bad happens. You know, that book, Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. Well, it is my discipline to also put the bad stuff into that don't sweat that. So I'm going to give you the most often reaction to adult trauma. All right. So on one extreme, and you know I'm all about balance, right? On one extreme, the overachievers, or those of us who have been told, you know, bad things happen, get over it, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's not that big of a deal. Suck it up, and just, you know, get back on the horse, and just, you know, you can't change it, so, you know, just ignore it, or, you know, just try not to think about it, and just, you know, plow forward. So that particular approach is one extreme. And I know from experience that when that happens, you are just burying it, you're pushing it down, you're suppressing it. And what happens to garbage when you press it down? If you think of a garbage disposal truck, you press down garbage, it turns into liquid. You press down liquid, it turns into gas. You may be able to live that like that for a while, but at some point it's going to come back, and you're going to have gas leaking all over the place. And most of the time, you can't smell your own gas, but other people can smell your gas. So that's one extreme. And I see comments, and I'll get to you in a second. I just want to finish the other range, which is the other way is you do deal with the trauma, right? You are affected emotionally. You are overwhelmed. You are extremely emotional, which I believe is important to do. The tool is called Feel the Feelings Fully, because if you don't, like I just said, that gas. But then the other extreme is you're feeling it for a lifetime. You cannot move out or past that emotional trauma, that it's always with you. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you think of is the trauma. And these are for those ones of my clients that come in for happiness coaching, and they say they can't get past the break, that someone broke their heart. I ask them when did this happen? And it was 40 years ago. And it affects all of their relationships. People who lost a loved one, and how long ago? 20 years ago. And so every day, that's how they wake up. And that is the other extreme. So that's like reliving the trauma on a 24/7 constant basis, which is the other extreme, which is also not useful, because you're never going to get the time back that you are steeped in trauma and reliving it over and over and over again. So now that we're in the second half of the show, we're going to move to solution. How do we deal with adult trauma so that you feel it fully, but you're not feeling it fully 10 years later? Okay, let me go to, let's see here. Troy, I can verify that the notifications work. I'm trying to remember what I was talking about. And, the notifications on my YouTube channel, woohoo! Troy, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a free subscribe. I know that Oracle Nation wants me to look into charging, so get me free while you can, and you'll get the alert in the morning. Troy is saying, yes, he got the alert, knowing I'm coming on. Thank you so much. All right. Troy was a first responder for a coworker who suffered a cardiac event until paramedics arrived. She didn't make it. I had a tough time with that. That's adult trauma. Thank you. That's a great example that I didn't cover on trauma. Okay, so let's deal with that. And I'm not saying you're still dealing with it, but it's a great example. of, I know someone right now who's dealing with the trauma of walking in on a foreign exchange student that she had living in her house. Hung herself from the ceiling, in the hallway through the stairwell in that center area. And she walked in to see that. And so she is having trauma. Totally understandable, totally normal. I helped a family in Seal Beach where the husband hung himself in the garage off of the washer dryer, and the children's nanny walked in and found it. I worked with an executive when I was doing leadership development work for UCLA in the OHI T groups, old term, and he was extremely successful and C-level executive, very, accomplished, successful for 3-4 decades, and then started breaking down. And the reason was, when he was 9 years old, he walked into the study right after his father shot himself in the head, through the mouth, and with a rifle, and that's how he found his father. But that wasn't the trauma that was affecting him. It was the fact that he was told by his family to never talk about it again. So carrying that for a lifetime, that's trauma. Okay, so why am I talking about all of these things? If you just tuned in and you don't know the context for me sharing these horrific things that are true, it is because it is Mental Health Monday. And the topic is, how do we heal from adult trauma? Okay, so, all right, so the trauma happens, and I'm going to revert back to the first trauma I talked about, which was I had the opportunity to be in the library the day that the people were shot and killed by the shooter, I'm not going to mention his name, in the Meritage Salon shooting in Seal Beach. And I was in the library, and I actually offered my support, and they said, no, we already have psychologists who are from the crisis team, and they're in the library. Thank you, but no thank you. So I left, and as I was leaving, a friend of mine who I'd just seen at the gym this morning, she screamed my name. She collapsed. My friend just lost his wife. You have to stay. Help me with him. He's on his way. I end up. It was Paul, and I end up, helping him. There's a photo of us helping him to the library that was in the paper. And when I got to the door, I said, you're fine. And they said no, and they grabbed my arm and they grabbed me in the library and said, she's with us. And so I went in there, and I was just struck by the level of grief. I'd never been that close to grief of that kind. And I did see all of the grief workers walking around with a clipboard and a pamphlet of what they're supposed to say to people and how to coach them. And I was struck by the ill-timed talking. And what I gathered from that day, which I actually ended up writing about because I was woken up at 4:30 in the morning to write about that experience. We were told not to talk about the details by the police, but I didn't talk about the details, but I talked about the impact of trauma and what had happened in that library, and they published it on the front page of the Orange County Register, which was one of the reasons why I became known as a grief expert, because of that, and was on, a lot of TV stations at the time, talking about that first encounter. What is the best approach, or what is the most useful thing when someone's going through trauma? And this is I'm addressing those of you who have experienced it, and those of you who know someone who is currently going through that. So talking is the last helpful thing. I had a co-host for a series for a while that talked. She was a grief expert as well, and we talked about, how well-intentioned, well-meaning words that people use when people die, like God must have wanted them. That is really not helpful at that time. Things like there's always a reason, okay, that actually is helpful, but the timing of that, to say that when someone has just lost someone, words I have found are, there's really not a phrase, except when you're holding them, the power of the hug, the power of the arm, the power of just, if you think of a child who has just fallen or tripped, and I'm having an emotional reaction because I'm back there in the library that day. And I'm also feeling some of my own trauma that I'm going through right now. In that sadness, in that overwhelming, what feels like you're never going to recover, that your heart is broken into a million pieces, that you can't imagine feeling okay ever again. The strongest healing that can happen is through the power of connection in a physical hug, the power of connecting through meditation and prayer. And this is where, I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. I choose to believe in a connection with a power that's outside of me, that I'm actually a part of. I call him my UPS man, my universal power source, who delivers every day when I pray and meditate. But the belief, the BS belief system, that there is something you can say, help me. When I say, please, UPS man, help me. Please, God, help me. When I'm not with someone, or someone holding me and saying, I promise it's gonna be okay. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I promise it's gonna be okay. Those words I have found, when someone's going through trauma, are the most helpful at the moment of that deepest horrific feeling. And if you are going through that trauma right now, the most or the worst thing that you can do, the worst thing that you can say, is to push that person away and say, "It's okay, I got it, I'm good, it's okay. I hate crying. I hate when I cry. I'm going to be fine. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't, I'm okay. I got this. That is the number one worst thing If you're a person who thinks that you are so powerful that nothing can touch you, that vulnerability is a bad word, that sensitivity is a bad word, that you don't need anyone and you can be isolated on a desert island, you're going to hurt. You're going to hurt probably for a lifetime in a way that you really don't need to. So that's my message, and I'm sending it because that's what I did. I did that for many, many years, and I unnecessarily suffered. Pain in life is optional. Pain in life is mandatory. Let me say it again. Pain in life is mandatory. Adult trauma is mandatory. Life pain is mandatory. We cannot escape it. It is a condition of humankind. It is mandatory to have pain, but suffering from that pain is optional. There is a shelf life to it if you choose to have a shelf life to it. I promise. Okay, let me go to the comments. Let's see. Here we go. We did that one. Human emotions don't respond well to checklists. You better believe it. Even the stages of death and dying, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, a great model, but even that model has its limitations in the sense that, okay, I've gone through the anger check, I've gone through the denial check, I've gone through the depression check, now I'm in acceptance. Well, sometimes we cycle through that stuff. It's not that clean. We don't always go in that order. So when we're going through what we're going through, for me, the most helpful tool is the ability to allow people to surround you. And when you are feeling that pain, allow the healing to happen through tears of the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. I cry regularly, once a week, to allow myself to feel vulnerable, to feel human, to feel sensitive. It's part of our makeup. Sensitivity is 100% related to creativity. You want to be more creative, whether you're an artist or not, then get in touch with your vulnerable sensitivity. Okay? There's organization. Yes, those words are important. Thank you for that. And well said. Thank you for that. PJ, he's back. And sending love to all of those who went through difficulty. Thank you. Thank you for that. And in any one moment, there's a lot of people going through that. And in any one moment, there's a lot of people healing from it. This is the next step. So the first step is allow yourself the sadness, the pain, the suffering for a minute, a California minute. People ask me a lot, what is normal as far as timing when you've had trauma? How long? They're not usually asking about themselves. They're usually asking about a loved one who may be suffering. I gave you some examples, people who are still suffering from the death of a mother or a father or a child. Child's a tough one, okay? I think that's the number one pain is the death of a child. And I can tell you right now, please never, ever, 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 ever say to someone who has lost someone or have had an adult trauma of any kind, I know how you feel. That is, I want you to completely erase that phrase out of your vocabulary, because even if you have had a similar experience, right? I hear this the worst when I go back to, it's on the video, a class divided. When I did evaluating diversity training, I used a brilliant frontline PBS video. You have to watch it. It's free on YouTube, called A Class Divided. And It's when that teacher who I've had on my show, I have to get her back, Jane Elliott, brilliant diversity educator. She went on Oprah, my honorable moniker show, Oprah show, and showed the video of a class divided when kids are taught discrimination by wearing collars. And there was a white woman on the show who said to the Black woman who was talking about what it's like to wake up with a black, face every morning. And in those days, the discrimination was much worse, signs, whites only, and all of that. And the white woman said, everyone has had some kind of discrimination. I know what discrimination feels like. I know how you felt, or I know how you feel. And that is the most vivid example of wrong on all levels. So we never know what that person has gone through, what they're going through. So to say, I know how you feel is not helpful. So not useful. It's not wrong, but it's not useful. So please, that's your Happy 88 tool challenge for this week. If you are a person, I know you do it, your intent is to help them feel better, but it is really, the intent is there, but the impact is not anywhere close. Okay, so feel it fully. That's your first tool. If you're going through the trauma, feel it fully. All those things, allow yourself to feel that sadness. Call a friend, or go drive your car to someone who knows you well, and your instruction to them is, I don't need you to help me solve this. I don't need you to help me tell me what I need to do. I just need to cry right now. I just need to cry. And the person who loves you, no words except hug. I promise it's going to be okay. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I promise it's going to be okay. Or nothing. Just visualize. And if you are not with people and you're having a moment, I visualize that I am a child that has just fallen and I'm running into the arms of, my UPS man, my universal power source, who just envelops me, and I close my eyes and I can feel, and I will hold myself as if I am being held by someone, and I will tell myself, it's going to be okay, sweetheart. It's going to be okay, sweetheart. And I let myself cry. I let myself feel that. And for people who don't want to cry, who are embarrassed when they cry, get over it, because not only are tears the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. If you don't allow yourself to cry because you're afraid that if you go into that black hole, everybody feels like there's some black hole, that the trauma is buried down there. If we think that we're going to go in there and break into a million pieces and not be put back together again like Humpty Dumpty, that's bullshit hockey. There is a bottom to that hole. It's so necessary to go there, to go with the flashlight. I do that with my book, free audiobook copy. Anyone that goes to drmarissa.life right now, subscribes, I'll send you the promo code. It is in my voice. This is why I'm here on the planet. One of the reasons that tool to be able to work through that. I have you exercises, go to the beach, go somewhere and talk about that pain, because a lot of us have never gone down there. I go, if you want some private happiness coaching, happy to do that with you. A flashlight, we go in the hole, we find the bottom. In the bottom is a seed that is who you really are. And we shovel out all of that pain and all of that infection because you haven't dealt with the pain. And we shovel it out as shiitake, all that shiitake we've buried. And then we turn around and we look at that shiitake and find out that it's actually fertilizer. All those things, all those bad things, all those horrific things that we didn't like, that we didn't feel we deserved, that shouldn't have happened to us. Folks, every pain, every trauma, Everything that has happened to us is there for a purpose to chisel us into the most beautiful structure, the most beautiful sculpture in the world. That is the role of pain in life. That is why we have trauma. It is the biggest disservice when we continue to look at trauma as something that damaged us so that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy, that there's something wrong with us. Childhood trauma, adult trauma, all of the trauma in life is for the express purpose of chiseling us into a beautiful sculpture. And if you can get that, man, if you can get that, if you can choose to drink my Kool-Aid right now, I promise you will, life becomes this incredible opportunity instead of suffering, instead of life sucks, instead of life is a drag. That's my secret sauce, folks. That's why all the things that I have gone through, childhood trauma, adult trauma, the trauma I'm going through right now, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt for me and for you that it is there to chisel you into greater and greater beauty, love, joy, peace, harmony, bliss, creativity, innovation. So that's what life's about, folks. That's your public service announcement. I see the chat going all here. Orville Nation, you will heal. I was listening to RFK's Jr. story, very impressed with all he has grown. He has been through a lot since he's lost his father. Yes, they go through some kind of discrimination. Marissa has the coolest hairstyle. Another compliment, thank you. Orville Nation, right, talk about surviving trauma to make you grow stronger. I'm going to talk about surviving in a fist pump there. Let's see, pour me some more. Dr. Marissa Goulart, yeah, for sure. Thank you. Thank you. We're coming up at the end of the show. I want to, time to tell you that story. I first want to, this show is sponsored by two wonderful sponsors. Please go to Catalina Film Festival. Catalina Jazz Festival and the Newport Beach Film Festival. Catalina Jazz Festival is happening this weekend. It started last weekend. I'm going over Friday for a fabulous weekend of jazz. I am giving a Sunday pass to the first person who goes to drmarissa.life for this coming Sunday. I'll see you there. I'll be doing the carpet there and enjoying my beautiful twin sister, Kate Matsui, #1 Billboard. Please do look at my interviews with her. She is amazing. Japanese, I'm Chinese. We are twin sisters. We discovered by me interviewing her, and she's amazing. The other sponsor is Newport Beach Film Festival tonight. I offered it up at the beginning. I am looking for a date. So go to drmarissa.life. You can be my cameraman tonight. And I believe I still am open. I think I'm getting a second pass. So anybody that wants to go down, free film. It is the Chinese Spotlight film. I'm one of the sponsors. I get to introduce the film as well as the Pacific Rim Showcase after party. Free top shelf spirits. Those are sponsors. I think it's Tito's, tequila. I don't drink, but you can drink to your heart's content, and there's food and lion dancing and everything. So please do visit Newport Beach Film Festival, and they will be able to give you some tickets to go and enjoy that all week. I'll be at closing night as well. Maria is in the house. Thank you for joining in. Thank you to my cashew gallery today for being wonderfully chatty in the cashew there. I am out of time. Peace in, peace out, world peace through, inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. See you tomorrow. Right.